or I can't resist this storm with you.
Odera burst through the doors of the mansion, her wedding gown clinging to her body like a second skin, mascara painting dark rivers down her cheeks. Her chest heaved as she caught sight of the figure standing by the window, shoulders rigid in that familiar charcoal suit. "How could you?" she gasped, her voice breaking. The man turned slowly, and in that moment her world tilted. The face was identical, those same sharp cheekbones, that same perfect jaw. But the eyes... God, the eyes were all wrong. Where Damien's were ice, these burned like whiskey over flame. "I never meant for you to find out this way," Daniel said, his voice rougher than his twins had ever been. The slap cracked through the air before Odera even realized she'd moved. He caught her wrist gently, his thumb brushing against her racing pulse as he whispered, "But you need to know, Damien doesn't deserve you. I do." Her breath caught. The heat of his hand against her skin sent electricity shooting through her veins, and she hated herself for noticing, for wanting. "No," she yanked away, stumbling backward. "You're insane." "Am I?" He stepped closer, and she could smell him now. Not his crisp cologne, but something darker, leather and smoke. "Tell me you haven't felt it, Odera. Tell me these past weeks haven't been the most real thing either of us has ever experienced. If you're hooked and want to know how a woman ends up married to the wrong twin, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story is about to get complicated." 6 weeks earlier, Odera Baptiste had been standing in a completely different kind of storm. The bankruptcy notices littered her desk like fallen leaves, each one another nail in the coffin of Baptiste architectural design. Her phone buzzed. It was the hospital, again. "Ms. Baptiste, your mother's treatment requires immediate payment, or we'll have to..." She hung up, her hands trembling. 28 years old, award-winning architect, and she was drowning. The Skyline Tower project was her last shot, a mixed-use development that would revolutionize affordable luxury housing, but she needed funding. She needed a miracle. She needed Damien Cole. Without thinking too much about it, Odera went home, changed into her best outfit, and headed towards Cole Industries. Cole Industries occupied the top 15 floors of the Meridian building, each floor a proof of the kind of power that bent cities to its will. Odera smoothed her best dress, the one without the coffee stain, and stepped into the elevator that would take her to the 50th floor. "You have 7 minutes," Damien's assistant had said. 7 minutes to save everything. The office door opened to reveal him standing against the skyline, hands clasped behind his back. When he turned, Odera's breath caught. The photos hadn't done him justice. He was devastating in person, all sharp angles and controlled power, skin like polished bronze, and eyes that could freeze hell over. "Ms. Baptiste?" Damien said simply, giving a slight nod. It wasn't a greeting. It was a call to action. She launched into her pitch, passion bleeding through every word. His expression never changed, those dark eyes tracking her like a predator watching prey. When she finished, silence stretched between them like a taut wire. "Your design is brilliant," he said finally, "but I don't invest in failing companies." Her jaw clenched. "Then why did you agree to see me?" For the first time, something flickered in his expression. "Because I have a proposition, one that benefits us both." He moved closer and she caught his scent. Expensive, cold, sharp as winter air. "I need a wife, a respectable woman to stabilize my image during some temporary difficulties with the board. You need funding and financial support for your family." Odera laughed, but it came out strangled. "You're serious." "I'm always serious." He pulled out a contract, thick as a novel. "Be my wife for 1 year. Your project gets fully funded. Your mother's medical bills disappear. In return, you play the devoted wife. Simple." "I'm not a prostitute, Mr. Cole," Odera said. "I'm not asking you to be. This is business. There would be no physical requirements." The way he said it, like touching her would be distasteful, should have been insulting. Instead, it was oddly reassuring. I need time to... Her phone rang. The hospital. Her mother had collapsed, was in the ICU, and needed immediate surgery. Damien watched her face crumble, then quietly said, "Sign the contract. The bills will be handled within the hour." With shaking hands, Odera signed her life away. 2 days later, she met Daniel Cole. She'd been in Damien's penthouse, reviewing wedding details with a coordinator who treated the event like a military operation, when laughter, actual, genuine laughter, echoed from the foyer. Where's my Ice Prince brother? Still counting his money in that cave he calls an office? The man who strolled in was Damien's perfect mirror if Damien had been carved from fire instead of ice. Same face, same build, but where Damien wore bespoke suits like armor, this one wore ripped jeans and a leather jacket like a second skin. Tattoos peeked from beneath his collar. His eyes landed on her and widened. "Well, hello. Daniel?" Damien's voice cut through the air like a blade. He'd appeared from his study, jaw tight. "What are you doing here? Can't a man visit his twin?" Daniel's gaze never left Odera's face. "You must be the bride. Didn't know my brother had such exquisite taste." Heat crawled up her neck. "I'm Odera Baptiste," she said. "Daniel Cole, the fun twin." He took her hand and instead of shaking it, brought it to his lips. The touch was barely there, but it sent shockwaves through her entire body. Damien stepped between them, his eyes focusing on Daniel. "You were leaving." Daniel grinned mischievously. "Actually, I was staying for dinner." Daniel's grin was pure wickedness. Family bonding, right? The dinner was torture. Every time Daniel looked at her, her skin felt too tight. Every laugh he pulled from her made Damien's jaw clench harder. When Daniel told the story of their childhood, how Damien had locked him in a closet during their 8th birthday party, she found herself genuinely smiling for the first time in weeks. "You have a beautiful laugh," Daniel said softly when Damien stepped away for a call. "He doesn't deserve it." "He's going to be my husband," Odera whispered. "No." Daniel leaned closer, voice dropping. "He's going to own you. There's a difference." She stood abruptly, needing distance from the heat radiating off him. "You don't know me. I know you're not the kind of woman who should be in a cage, even if it's made of gold. Your brother is helping my family. And what's he taking in return?" His fingers brushed hers on the table. "Your light? Your fire? That smile that probably tastes like..." "Daniel." Damien's voice was lethal from the doorway. "Get out." He left, but not without dropping a wink that pooled heat between my legs. The wedding came too fast. Standing at the altar in a dress worth more than her car, Odera tried to catch Damien's eye, but he stared over her shoulder. When the officiant asked for the rings, his hand trembled slightly. When he kissed her, it was barely a brush of lips, but somehow it made her stomach flip. "You look beautiful," he whispered against her mouth, and something was off about his voice. It was rougher than it used to be. Must be nerves, she thought. The reception was a blur of faces and fake smiles. Her new husband barely spoke, wouldn't dance until absolutely necessary, and when he finally held her, his hands shook against her waist. "Are you all right?" she asked. He looked down at her, and for a moment those cold eyes seemed to burn. "No," he said quietly. "I'm not." That night in the penthouse, he wouldn't even look at her. She emerged from the bathroom in the silk nightgown his stylist had selected, and he was already on the couch, still in his tux pants and shirt. "You don't have to sleep there," she said carefully. His whole body tensed. "Yes, I do." "Damien, please." The word cracked. "Just give me time." For a week, they lived like ghosts. He left before she woke, came home after she slept. When they did cross paths, he could barely meet her eyes. But sometimes, she'd catch him watching her with an expression that made her chest ache, like he was drowning and she was his heir. Then came the phone call that changed everything. She'd been sketching in his study when his phone rang. He'd left it behind, so unlike the methodical Damien that she knew. The name on the screen said, Father. Without thinking, she answered. "Daniel, finally!" the voice barked. "I've been calling all week. How are you handling the situation? Are you maintaining the cover as the fake husband?" Her blood turned to ice. What? Silence. Then, who is this? She hung up, her mind racing. Daniel handling what situation? What cover? The front door opened. Her husband walked in, saw his phone in her hand, and went pale. "Odera, who are you?" He stepped toward her, hands raised. "Let me explain. Who are you?" The question hung between them like a loaded gun. He closed his eyes, shoulders sagging. "I'm Daniel." The room spun. She gripped the desk. "No." Damien was arrested the morning of the wedding. Securities fraud. Father paid bail but needed time to fix things. He begged me to stand in just for the ceremony, but then... "You lying bastard." Her voice was deadly quiet. "You let me marry you thinking..." "I tried to tell you. That first night I tried, but you looked so broken already, and I..." He ran his hands through his hair, messing it in a way that Damien never would. "I couldn't add to your pain." "So you decided to lie instead?" "I decided to protect you." "From what? The truth?" "From Damien." The words exploded out of him. "You don't know what he's really like, Odera. Cole doesn't begin to cover it. He would have destroyed everything soft in you. That wasn't your choice to make." "I know." His voice broke. "God, I know. But that night at dinner, when you smiled at me, really smiled, not that practiced thing you do for him, I knew I couldn't let him have you." She slapped him. Hard. He took it and didn't even flinch. "I fell in love with you," he said quietly. "That's my only crime. I fell in love with my twin brother's bride and couldn't let you go." Comment below if you think Odera should forgive him or make him suffer first, because this forbidden romance is just getting started. Odera ran, out of the penthouse, into the elevator, her mind a hurricane of betrayal and confusion. But worse than the anger was the traitorous flutter in her chest at his confession. The week made sense now. The trembling hands, the avoided gazes, the way he said her name like a prayer he shouldn't be uttering. He'd wanted her. Daniel Cole, who could have any woman in the city, had been tortured by wanting her. She ended up at her mother's hospital room, curled in the visitor's chair while her mother slept. The bills were paid. The treatment was working. Everything she'd sacrificed for was secure. But at what cost? Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hello? Ms. Baptiste, or should I say, Mrs. Cole?" The voice was Damien's, the real Damien's, and it was Arctic. "We need to discuss this situation my idiot brother has created." They met at his actual office, not the penthouse, but Cole Industries. He looked exactly like Daniel, but felt nothing like him. Where Daniel was fire, Damien was permafrost. The marriage can be annulled, he said without preamble. "Fraud vitiates consent. You'll keep the funding for your project as compensation for this inconvenience." "And Daniel?" Something flickered in Damien's expression. "Will be dealt with," he said. "What does that mean?" "It means he's betrayed the family. Again. He's always wanted what was mine. Toys, cars, women. Now apparently, wives." "I'm not a possession." "No, but you were my solution. A carefully selected, thoroughly vetted solution to a delicate problem." He studied her. "Though I admit, seeing you in person, I understand his weakness. You're quite beautiful when you're angry." The door burst open. Daniel stormed in, and suddenly the room felt too small for both brothers. "Stay away from her," Daniel growled. Damien laughed, cold and sharp. "She's my wife, legally speaking. She's nothing to you but a chess piece. And what is she to you? Another conquest? Another way to prove you're not the failure father thinks you are?" Daniel lunged. they crashed into the desk, two identical faces twisted with rage. Odera shouted for them to stop, but they were beyond hearing. Years of resentment exploding in violence. Enough! She grabbed a vase and smashed it against the wall. Both men froze. You're both acting like I'm property to be fought over. I'm a person. I make my own choices. Then choose, Damien said, straightening his tie. Him or the annulment? I choose neither. She lifted her chin. I'm keeping the marriage for now. It protects my interests. But I'm filing for legal separation until I decide what I want. And if either of you tries to manipulate me again, I'll destroy you both. She walked out, leaving two stunned billionaires in her wake. For 2 weeks, she focused on her project. The funding was flowing, the design was perfect, and her mother was getting stronger. She ignored Daniel's texts, Damien's calls, and the gossip rags speculating about the Cole brothers' mysterious new bride. Then Daniel showed up at the construction site. He looked different, exhausted, stubbled, his usual cockiness replaced with something raw. 5 minutes, he said. That's all I'm asking. You've had weeks of my time based on lies. Then let me finally tell you the truth. He stepped closer, and she hated how her body responded, leaning toward him like a flower to sun. I love you, not as Ethan's bride, not as a conquest, but as Odera, the woman who fights for her family, who creates beauty from nothing, who challenged me the moment we met. You don't know me, Odera said, her voice trembling. I know you hum while you sketch. I know you eat cookies for breakfast when you're stressed. I know you check on your mother every night at exactly 9 p.m. I know you cry in the shower so no one will hear. His hand rose to her face but stopped inches away. I know you, Odera, and I know I don't deserve you, but I'm selfish enough to want you anyway. Want, she whispered, not love. Love, he corrected. The kind that's eating me alive. The kind that makes me understand why men start wars and burn kingdoms. The kind that makes me grateful for Damien's crimes because they brought you to me. She was crying now, and he finally touched her, thumbs wiping her tears. Don't, she breathed. Don't. Make me feel this. Too late, he murmured, and then his mouth was on hers. The kiss was nothing like the weak brush at the altar. This was fire and desperation, weeks of suppressed desire exploding. She fisted his shirt, pulling him closer, and he groaned against her mouth like she was salvation and damnation combined. This is wrong, she gasped when they broke apart. Everything about us has been wrong, he said roughly. Doesn't make it less real. That night she found him in the penthouse. Their penthouse, technically. He was on the balcony, city lights painting his profile in gold and shadow. We can't do this, she said. I know. Ethan will destroy you. Let him try. Your father will cut you off. I don't care. She moved closer, close enough to feel his heat. I can't be the reason you lose everything. He turned to her then, eyes burning. You're the only thing worth losing everything for. That's romantic nonsense. No. He caught her hand, pressed it to his chest where his heart hammered. That's the first honest thing I've ever felt. The elevator dinged inside. Damien walked in, taking in the scene, them standing too close, her hand on Daniel's chest. How touching, he drawled. The help and the spare air. Daniel moved to shield her, but she stepped around him. What do you want, Damien? What's mine? The board needs to see stability. You'll attend the gala tomorrow as my wife, or I'll withdraw funding from your project. You can't. I can't.
Do that.
Check the contract. Your funding is contingent on maintaining the marriage terms. His smile was razor sharp. One public appearance, unless you'd prefer your mother's bills to resurface. Daniel lunged, but Odera caught his arm. I'll go, she said quietly. Odera. No. It's one night. She met Damien's cold gaze. But after this, we're done. You find another solution to your image problem. The gala was torture. Damien's hand on her waist felt like shackles. every smile for the cameras scraped her raw. But worse was seeing Daniel across the room, watching her with barely controlled fury and something else, hurt. When Damien stepped away for a speech, she escaped to the terrace. The night air cooled her burning skin, but only for a moment before she heard footsteps.
You look beautiful tonight,
Daniel said softly, like a captive princess. Don't what? Don't look at you like you're mine when you're standing next to him? Don't imagine what you'd look like in that dress if you'd chosen it yourself instead of having it chosen for you. He moved closer, backing her against the railing. Don't think about how different tonight would be if you were here as my wife. You mean if you'd lied better? I mean if I'd been brave enough to tell you the truth from the beginning. His hands braced on either side of her, caging her without touching. If I'd said, I'm Daniel, and I've been in love with you since you walked into that dining room and smiled like sunshine. Stop. Why? Because you feel it too? His breath fanned her face. Because you know we could be extraordinary together? Because it doesn't matter, she whispered. Feeling something doesn't make it right. Nothing about my family is right. We're all broken, sharp edges and manipulation. But you make me want to be better, to be worthy of that smile, that trust. His forehead dropped to hers. Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me and I'll walk away. She opened her mouth to lie, to end this torture, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she reached up, fingers tracing his jaw. He shuddered, eyes falling closed. I hate you, she whispered. I know. I hate what you did. I know. I hate that you're right, that Damien would have destroyed me, that these weeks with you were more real than anything I've ever felt. His eyes flew open, hope and agony warring in their depths. Odera. Ah, there you are. Damien's voice cut through the moment. How cozy. Daniel didn't move, didn't even look at his brother. We're done here. Actually, you're done. Father called. Your trust fund is frozen pending a review of your recent decisions. Good thing I never wanted his money. No? Then how will you live? You have no skills, no career, nothing but the family name you're so eager to disgrace. Daniel finally turned, a dangerous smile playing on his lips. Watch me. The next morning, legal separation papers were delivered to both brothers. Odera had made her choice, herself, her freedom, her future. But Daniel didn't give up. He showed up at her project site with coffee and architectural suggestions that were actually brilliant. He learned the names of her construction crew, brought her mother flowers, fixed her car when it broke down without being asked. What are you doing? She demanded after 2 weeks of this. Proving I'm more than my name, he said simply, that I can be someone worth choosing. I'm not a prize to be won. No, you're a partner to be earned, and I'm going to earn you, Odera Baptiste, however long it takes. If you've gotten to this point, pause and comment where you're watching from. Like and subscribe if you need to know how this forbidden romance ends. Trust me, you won't see this coming. 3 months passed. The divorce proceedings with Damien were surprisingly civil. He'd found another solution to his problems, something about a merger with European money. The project was nearing completion. Her mother was in remission, and Daniel was everywhere, not pushing, not demanding, just there. Bringing lunch when she forgot to eat, sitting quietly while she worked, making her laugh when the stress got too heavy. You're not playing fair, she told him one evening as they watched the sunset from the completed building's roof. I never claimed to play fair. I'm a Cole, remember? No, she said softly. You're not. You're nothing like them. He looked at her then, vulnerability naked on his face. I want to be nothing like them. I want to be worthy of you. You're working on it, she admitted, and his smile could have powered the city. The kiss happened slowly this time. Not the desperate collision of before, but a slow, sweet acknowledgement of everything building between them. When they pulled apart, both were trembling. I'm not ready, she whispered. I know. I might never be ready. That's okay too. How is that okay? He tucked a curl behind her ear, the gesture unbearably tender. Because even if all I get is this, these moments, these almosts, it's more than I deserve and everything I want. The night of the building's opening, both brothers attended. The media went wild. The Cole twins and their mysterious shared bride, now ex-bride, all in one room. Damien approached her first, champagne in hand. "You did well," he said, nodding at the building. "I underestimated you. You underestimated a lot of things." "Perhaps." He studied her. "You're good for him, you know. Daniel. He's been different since you. He was always different. You just never saw it. Or perhaps you see something in him no one else could." He raised his glass slightly. "Be happy, Odera. Despite everything, you deserve that." She watched him walk away, this cold prince who'd started everything, and felt only relief. Daniel found her on the balcony, their thing apparently. "No more lies?" she asked. "Never again. No more games? Only the fun kind." She laughed, and he caught the sound with his mouth, kissing her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. Her hands tangled in his hair, and she let herself feel everything. The want, the need, the terrifying, beautiful possibility of them. "I love you," she gasped against his mouth. God help me, I love you." "Marry me," he said immediately.
Marry me.
For real this time. No contracts, no lies, just us. "We're already married, technically." "Then marry me again. Properly. Choose me, Odera. Not because you have to, but because you want to." She pulled back to see his face, this beautiful, maddening man who'd upended her entire world. "You know what? Ask me again in a year." "A year? If you still want me in a year, if we survive that long without lies or contracts or manipulations, then ask me again." He grinned, that wicked smile that started everything. Challenge accepted. As she walked back into her party, her building full of light and promise, Daniel's hand warm in hers, she thought about wrong turns that lead to right destinations, about lies that reveal truth, about falling for the wrong twin and finding the right love. She didn't marry the wrong twin. She just found the right love, the wrong way. And sometimes, that's exactly how the best stories begin. If you made it this far, you're officially part of our forbidden romance family. Comment below, Team Ethan or Team Daniel. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will leave you breathless, wanting and believing in love that breaks all the rules. See you in the next story, lovers. Until then, I love you all so much.